Hello, legacy builders, and welcome back to another episode of the Legacy Pregame Podcast. I am Marcella Mollon-Williams, behavioral financial advisor, mindset coach, and legacy strategist for first generation legacy wealth builders.
And I am your co-host, Mark Mollon, investment advisor, legacy strategist, and together we are your legacy builder duo, guiding first-gen high-income earners like you from wealth creation to generational impact, one intentional move at a time.
And today's episode, Mark, we are all about, yeah, I see you over your
And
head
looking
just
forward
already,
to
right?
this one.
I know. Yes. Woo-wee. Well, we're going to start off. What we're talking about today is the importance of family collaboration and how to build a culture that sustains wealth across generations.
Mhm.
Because if your interdependent relationships aren't healthy, wealth can disappear faster than it came. And when I say interdependent, right, and when I say interdependent relationships, I want to be clear. I am talking about the relationships that give you freedom to be yourself, support your growth, and allows for flexibility among each other.
Marcella, you are speaking my language here. And it's why we do what we do. As a matter of fact, here's why this matters so much. Because 70%, I want you to think about this number, 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation. Okay. You're still alive when you're seeing your money being lost, right? And 90% of that, it could be gone by the third generation. And you think you would know the culprit to that. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not taxes and it's not even market movements. No, it's because of communication and the collaboration breakdown. That can entail family drama, unresolved trauma, and that lack of shared values can destroy more inheritance than any taxation out there.
And for first gens, this challenge is magnified. Why? Because you're the first in your family to reach this level of success.
Right.
Your
There's no
family,
playbook, Marcella, right?
there's no playbook. Exactly, Mark. You're the
Mhm.
first. You're leading the path. And your family may not have the framework, the financial literacy, or the emotional mastery to handle wealth. And Mark, we've experienced what that looks like when a family does not have a framework, financial literacy, or the emotional mastery that
Mhm.
can prepare for large financial sums. And when I say emotional mastery, I want to be clear because we're going to touch on this in this episode. Emotional mastery is a combination of emotional intelligence. And when it comes to money, we're talking about financial intelligence. We spoke about that on episode 8, financial literacy versus financial intelligence. So I want you to go back and listen to that episode so that you can be clear on what we're talking about today. But again, we have experienced this firsthand when a family is not equipped with the emotional mastery, the financial literacy, the financial intelligence, all of the works, right, Mark?
Yes, exactly, exactly. So let me go into a little experience. Since some of you said you love to hear our stories and our experience we've had with our clients. Let me give you one in the early part of our business where we had a client who was preparing to receive a nine-figure settlement. Okay, so not six, not seven, not eight, but a nine-figure settlement from a workplace injury lawsuit. Now, that may sound like the dream, like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna get all this money, right? Not exactly. It actually turned out to be quite a experience, and if I was to be honest, quite a nightmare.
It was definitely a
But
nightmare.
we'll focus on the experience part of this, right?
Okay.
And here's the thing, it was long and it was definitely an experience that we had, and it made this even more challenging because of our clients' family dynamics or the dysfunction that we all have. But when you put money into it, it's amplified. So let me give you a little bit more into this story here. So prior to this workplace incident, she was a six-figure subcontractor. But here's the thing, she was making good money, but had no financial system in place. She had no savings, no retirement plan. So prior to working with us, she had no idea how much money she was even making. All she knew is that she can cover everything. Money going in and money going out, she can cover it. Here's the thing. She was a shopper, right? Which
Hmm.
a lot of us can relate to that in some form or fashion. She was also a big giver, right? Which can
Yeah.
sound like a blessing, but unfortunately, because of the family dynamics, the family took advantage of that. And because of her childhood experiences that she shared with us, she had a subconscious need to buy their love and affection. So when the news came out of this lawsuit and how it spread in the family, well, guess what? I think you can imagine. The family started to make plans on her money, right? Their
Hmm.
plans on her money. And they got to the point where their plans were so important to them that they actually tried to get the financial information from us about her financial plan and even get confidential information about that. And I'm going to tell you right now,
Yeah,
Marcella and I, we do not play that.
we were
She
not
was our
having it.
client, not the family. So we had to make it very clear that according to our values and the law, we couldn't do that. And
Absolutely. We were
Marcella,
not
I'll
having it,
let you,
Mark.
you know,
We were not having that.
exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Look, it got so intense that the stress from the situation, the family situation, added to the workplace injury that happened to our client, took a physical toll on her, and she was hospitalized. While she was in ICU, laying unconscious, family members legally moved against us. The family prevented us from contacting our clients, and our lives were threatened. Mark, they threatened our lives for
And we're
information.
not exaggerating when we say our lives were threatened. This is
Oh,
not
yeah,
exaggeration. Like we
absolutely not.
literally thought we were in a daytime soap opera or what those evenings.
Look,
It was unbelievable that we were going through this, trying to help our client financially be in a better place.
yeah, it was crazy, and what we're sharing is not even the half of it. For the sake of time, we can only give a snippet of what was going on, but it was a lot. I can honestly say, and I can't speak for you, but I think it was the darkest moment in our career as far
Yes.
as, dealing and working with a client. That was the worst situation that we've come across.
And Marcel, I want to add as well is again when we talk about emotional intelligence and everything, even though we went through this, I have to give you props because one of the things that we went through in this was how do we learn from these experiences, right? This is something you've
Mhm,
actually helped me discover myself. Is
mhm.
how do we take a quote unquote negative or dark experience and find that silver line, so to speak, right? And for you, this was a pivotal point, right?
Absolutely, it was. I could see how God used this situation really to guide us into the direction that we needed to go into the assignment and mission for our lives and our business. That's when our mission truly took hold, and that's to serve first generation wealth builders. We saw firsthand the need to protect and prepare them and their families, and to avoid going through tumultuous situations like these. I mean, unhealed trauma, unclear boundaries, and underdeveloped emotional intelligence will sabotage your legacy. Point blank, period.
Mhm.
That's it. Unless those are dealt with. Think about it. We we ask at some point, we ask God for more, right? If you're like the average person, you're like, you want more.
Mhm.
Now, if more will only magnify dysfunction, does that make sense? If more will hurt you instead of help you, is more what you need? What is the point of asking God for more when these things can happen? Make that make sense. And
Sure.
I just want, yeah, and I just want, and I just want people, I just want to emphasize that because this is the thing we do. We ask God for more and not think about if we're actually ready to handle more. Do we have the systems, the structures, the strategies, the mindset to be able to handle the abundance that we're praying for?
Marcella, you really hit on something there. Even in my own experience, I'm recalling a time when I was younger and I was able to, this is my late 20s, and I was able to purchase a convertible GT limited edition Mustang. And
Look at
I
that.
remember telling myself, I cannot get this vehicle. Financially, I could, but maturity wise, I couldn't because I know me. And I said, if I was to get that vehicle, that car would never see below 90 miles an hour. It's like I gotta see what it can do. So I knew at that point, maturity wise, emotionally wise, I was not mature enough. I didn't have enough mastery to control that, to control myself,
Mm,
therefore control the vehicle. And
that's
that's
so
so
good.
important. Even the story that we're sharing, we can see the gaps that we share. I mean, we gave you a kind of a brief description of the whole experience, but there was so many unhealed traumas going on, fuzzy boundaries. There were no healthy boundaries, low emotional intelligence. And here's the thing: there's a Harvard Business Review study that says that emotional intelligence accounts for nearly 90% of what differentiate tops performers. And Marcel, if you can elaborate on it, because I know this is your area here.
Yeah, I like this stat, and we wanted to include it because it's so important. And this is not just about performing professionally. Emotional intelligence, also known as emotional mastery, is about how you perform in all aspects of your life. How you do one thing is how you'll do anything. So we're not just talking about performing professionally. We're talking about how you're performing relationships, how you're performing spiritually in all areas. So you have to be able to be clear on that emotional mastery element, the E in legacy pregame framework. Collaboration, back to family collaboration, what we're talking about today, it begins with that emotional mastery and at very least emotional maturity. Because in order to master your emotions, you have to mature in it. So it's not just about building financial strategies as a family. The only way those financial strategies will sustain through your generation, the next generation after that, is if the emotional elements that will rise up guaranteed when situations come up, they will rise up and they can come and divide you and ruin the financial strategy. So that has to be considered. Which, Mark, brings me to a social, well, actually just reminds me of a social media post that I recently shared about Tyler Perry's comment or some things that he mentioned in a YouTube show called Den of Kings. And, I made you watch it as, as we're always sending each other
Mhm.
things to watch. And of course, in preparation for this episode, I wanted you to just really kind of elaborate on it because I submitted a post in on LinkedIn, and the reason I felt the need to talk about it is because of his view on wealth, and I absolutely love this about what Tyler Perry shares in this show. His view about wealth is that he views it as a tool for transformational impact for both his family and community. Now, I don't know about you, Mark, but that completely resonates with me. It is,
Yes.
because that is how I see money. It's a tool for transformational impact. And for me, for my family, and my community. He's very strategic about it. His strategy is so well put together because it's not everyone in the family that will be aligned with this. And I want y'all to understand this because you may use money as a transformative tool for your family, but it doesn't mean everyone in the family will be in alignment with it. And that's an
Mhm.
important point to understand.
Well, and Marcel, let me just dive right in here because that piece right there is the catalyst of what he was sharing in that video. And he
Yes.
references this boat that he's building, so the financial legacy that he's creating. He's that's going to be represented in this book, and describes how being aware of those that are trying to poke holes in this boat that you're
Mm,
creating so that your family can move forward, right?
that
And
part.
this is so important because Marcella, we see this time and time again where we're like, we want everyone to come with us. And I get it. You want the people you love and you care for to be a part of your journey. The question becomes, the people are you bringing, are they all on board? Or are some of those folks trying to sabotage you? because they have
Whoop.
their best interests in mind, not the family's best interests. So it's
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's really about, what do you want for your vision to become a part of you and the generations ahead of you, right? So let me give you an example in the same story. So Tyler Perry was sharing how he had to fire his aunt. Okay, he was
Yes.
literally fired aunt. Why? Because she kept calling him asking for money, right? And Tyler said, you know what? Let me give you a job. Okay, you want money? Fine. I'm gonna give you a job, right? You'll get money, but you have to do the work, right? You have to be accountable for that, right? But here's the thing. She wouldn't even show up for work. She kept calling out, but she still wanted that money. She still
Mhm.
wanted that handout. And let me tell you something that he said, that Tyler Perry said in the recording. He said, "I want to help you build, not be welfare to you." And that's something that we have to understand needs to be crystal clear. We have to have clarity with that. He wasn't shutting down support. He was just redirecting it towards accountability, not entitlement. And that's the thing. There are going to be many people in your circle, in your community, that's going to feel entitled. Those are not the crew you want to help build that ship, to help maintain that ship, to help it to carry on to generations, right? So we're not looking for entitlement. He and we are looking for able-bodied people that will stand, right? People that will help stand with you and not be dependent on you, right? That's what we're looking for, that difference, right? So he says, and I quote, "I don't believe in giving us things that are going to handicap us. That is the worst thing you can do." Marcelo, let
Mm,
me tell you, there's a lot of
mm.
people that may rub them the wrong way, but it is the truth. There's something that we get about building on our own power. Yes, we can get help, but you got to be accountable. That speaks directly to the emotional and financial empowerment that Marcella, you and I are talking about. We want to teach values, not entitlement, and we see it time and time again. The misunderstanding of the importance of values, and instead,
Mhm.
what we're doing is we're passing on entitlement, and we
And
need
Mark,
to break that chain.
yes, yeah, and that's what I love so much about that segment in that show and what Tyler shared.
Yes,
N He really was teaching a master class
he really
on
was. Yes,
family
yes.
collaboration and what we're talking about here. It is true for all of us. All of us will it doesn't you don't have to have Tyler Perry money. You and maybe not a billionaire, but, 6, 7, 8-figure earner. You are experiencing situations with family members. And these are lessons that are going to make or break your family legacy. Family collaboration, or at least this aspect of family collaboration that we're talking about today, isn't about bringing everyone into the plan, as Tyler just so skillfully
Mhm.
explained. It's about discerning who is aligned with the legacy vision and protecting the mission from sabotage, as Mark said, protecting it from those individuals who are not here for the ride. They may not be able to get on the boat. And
Mhm.
it's challenging. I know, I said this earlier. You're building a legacy for your family. Shouldn't all your family be involved? Unfortunately, the reality is everyone will not make it on the boat, because if they do, they will poke holes. And that's the sabotage you want to avoid. That's what this
Mhm.
conversation is about, right, Mark? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Marcel, we gotta give them some work to do, right?
Yes, yes. Let's provide some takeaways, some
Mhm.
pregame practices here. Every now and then you have to bring you to work. So pulling out your journals and your pens, give you something to write and think about and really put into action that why your next move. We have to keep moving here. So I want to provide 3 examples that you can put into action based off of this conversation. The first one is establish boundaries, right? Establish
Yes.
boundaries like Tyler did. Generosity without boundaries leads to burnout. And unfortunately, in the story of the client we spoke about today, that led to burnout physically, added to what she was already going through and put her in the hospital. That was just the lack of boundaries that were there. And you want to avoid that. So establish healthy boundaries. Two, educate together. Become educated together. Learn together. Bring your family into conversations about financial literacy, financial intelligence, and legacy. Start small. It doesn't have to be any big jumps and making sudden moves. It's about starting with conversations into place whenever you have an opportunity, but be consistent. That means plan it out. And that leads to the third one, and that is hold family meetings. So, one way you can learn together is through family meetings. But the importance of the family meeting is to create a safe space to discuss values, not just the money. You want to have the conversation of where you are now and where you are going, the generational goals. Remember, G from the Legacy Pregame, generational goals. That is a great time to discuss all of the goals, all of the assets, both financial and intellectual assets. So the three areas that I want you to begin putting into practice is establishing healthy financial boundaries, educate yourselves together as a family unit, and hold family meetings. Maybe it could start off quarterly, move to monthly. That's up to you. All that matters is consistency.
Exactly. Marcella, I think for a lot of people, and this is why I'm so grateful for what we were doing, creating this Legacy Pregame podcast and getting this information out, because a lot of people just assume that the family gets it. The family understands. They know your vision. They know your values. It's all assumption, but you don't know until you communicate and you get a feel of what everyone's going through or understanding or have questions about. So in essence, legacy is not automatic. It is not. It is built on intentional cultures and clear values. Values. You have to spell it out here. And what it does, it also adds in this. I want to touch on the number three you mentioned, Marcella. Whole
Mhm.
family meetings. They're all relevant. But in my day-to-day meetings with my clients, I see the importance of communication and the assumption that one person knows what the other person's values are or what's important to the other person because they've been married for 20 years. If you're
Mhm.
not talking about it, you might be missing some of those values. You may be
Yeah,
missing all those values. So
exactly.
communication is very important because it gives everyone clear, precise understanding of where you stand, what you want for yourself, what you want for the family. You're leaving assumptions out the window, instead being intentional with your message and your values. So that's very important to understand here. It's not automatically. Get rid of that assumption and be
Mhm.
very intentional with your message.
I'm glad you went back to that. That's very important. And, just to add, because we are family and
Mhm.
family collaboration is what we do, isn't it?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, we're siblings and we've worked to get here. Um, but I think the biggest part about us, or the most important part about our upbringing that allowed us to be in a stage where we're able to work together is a part of the communication. It was the time spent together. And I'm sure, Mark, you can add to that. But really want to lead to the fact that even to this day, as a family, we hold family meetings, right? We have quarterly family meetings among I should say 4 generation if my grandson is in there, but
Mhm.
really 3 generations. We have those quarterly family meetings so that we're all on the same page and there's no family drama. That's the key. You do not want to deal with family drama now. You don't want to deal with it later in probate. You don't want to
Mhm.
deal with family drama at any stage in your life. And as Mark just mentioned, it is intentional. It is not automatic. It is not on autopilot. You have to be intentional about creating a culture and clear values to do so.
Mhm.
So thanks for bringing that back up, Mark. And so just to close things out, I hope you got a lot out of this episode. And legacy builders, I want to make sure that you are building a culture that can carry the weight of your wealth and be able to multiply it for generations. So that's the question you have to ask yourself. Are you doing that? Are you building a culture that can carry your wealth multiple generations? Or are there holes in your boat that need patching up? Because right, they could be, you can be now listening to us, now finding us after you've gone through some traumatic experiences with your family, after you've dealt with a lot of family drama, maybe generations of drama, family drama, but you are the legacy builder. You are the one that says it stops with me. These holes are getting patched and I am moving in a different direction. And who is in alignment can get on this boat.
This is where we have the reminder that I want to share with you that your legacy isn't just what you leave behind, right? It's how your family experiences your existence. So
Yes.
that's going to be very important, okay? How
Yeah.
your family experiences your existence.
Thank you. And if this episode resonates with you, legacy builder, share it with someone that you know. Share it with another family member who really needs to hear this.
Yes.
This is a great episode for you to listen to with family members, to have a family meeting and play this episode and have conversations around it. Right, Mark?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Communication.
Yes, absolutely. You can thank us later. And, and I also want to remind you to download, if you have not already, your free Legacy Clarity Workbook from legacypregamepodcast.com. Remember, it's your first step in moving from reflection to strategy.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't want to just think about it. We want to be about it.
Yeah, it's about being, taking action. Yes.
Taking action. That's right. So, legacy builders, until next time, live well, build wisely,
and prepare with purpose.